you can have the other... Yeah, let's start. I'm Monica Lassi. I work as a transformation leader at the Digital Transformation Office at IKEA. I started there in March. So what I'm going to talk about together with Emma-Lisa today is about my previous job. Just to let you know, so this is not connected to IKEA more than that, the embodiment of complexity standing here today. Jaha, ja. Det är inte min dator så jag vet inte. Men måste man aktivera den där va? Och så. Navigating complexity, you know. I can't see the... Yeah. Då får jag där. Okej. Har jag några fickor? Ja. Okej. The most complex. Okay. Thank you. F5. Okay. Yay! There we go.
And I am Emma-Lisa. As you can see, I work at the academia. That's why I could start a computer. Oh, okay.
So, and is it on?
I hope so.
Yeah.
Okay, now you can hear me. Okay,
Good.
my name is Emma-Lisa and I work at the academia. I work at the LUNAC, which is the computation center for Lund University. And I work with digital infrastructures, both nationally and internationally. Okay, I will return this.
I have one, so you can keep that one.
I'm
Thanks.
a rock star.
Yes. So a bit of the typical academic background slide, right? No pictures. So I have a background as a social science researcher, also doing design research and using design as a tool in my research. So when I have finished my PhD, I came to Lund University, and the top management asked me, Monica, can you kind of take care of the thing around research data? We don't know what it's kind of about, but we're starting to get questions. So can you have a look at that? And I said, yes, of course. And little did I know. In storytelling terms, I don't think we will end up in a Disney setting when we finish the slide deck. More of a Nordic or Scandinavian noir. So just so you know. So very happily did I take on this massive task at a university 350 plus years old. Really, really kind of stable in the culture and beliefs of how to run things. So transformation and digital stuff was not that interesting, but there were drivers from outside mostly. So in kind of the political parts of the EU and also on Swedish policy levels, there was a beginning to ask, so what do we get from funding your research? So we want stuff back. And the currency that they saw is data. So we want the data to be open. We want innovation to be furthered by you sharing data with everyone. And then there were some scandals, as usually there is once in a while, that really pinpointed that we need to be able to review others' data because we need to know if there's something strange going on. And also urgency to solve problems, as you've seen with the whole pandemic, where people actually pull together and do research really, really intensely to help each other out. So it's really all of these drivers and some more. And a lot of it was pointing towards universities to fix it because that's where data are created or generated and used. So some of the challenges in this area then was that everyone kind of knew we had to do something, but what is even the concept of research data? Very few knew and know, because it depends so much on the field that you're in. It depends on your place in the organization chart. If it is a currency, if it's something you work with, if it's something you support researchers with, etc., etc. So many different perspectives and actors here, having different definitions. And there was and is a serious lack of common strategy and vision around this. So the drivers were there, the external kind of expectations, but neither on this huge university with 8 faculties as Lund University, there wasn't a common strategy, and neither on the national level. And also, we were dealing with, there was a need for long-term sustainability in these issues and the economical or financial aspects of it, but also the technical solutions. So how do we know that we develop the right stuff and the right tools to help with keeping the research data that we have in order and making sure it's available? And everything was new, so you had to kind of develop everything at once for everyone in this then fragmented ecosystem. So a mess. So when I started this work and realized it wasn't that easy, I started to look at cultural change. So how do we kind of change the behaviors of researchers, and also the support organizations such as archivists, IT specialists, supercomputing staff, librarians, etc., who are supposed to be there in different aspects of research data management to help the core group of researchers. So in this strategy, you kind of have this pyramid where you build it on the infrastructure. You build the infrastructure, or it's there, basically. And then it's supposed to be easy, so you build this nice layer on top, the UX part. Then you make it normative, so you find some communities and you make sure that they use it and say, oh, this is awesome, do use it, everyone else. And then coming into the incentives to make sure it's rewarding. So you get something for really spending the time doing what the researchers say is admin work instead of doing the actual research work. So how do you make that rewarding? And then on the top you have the policy level to make it required. Problem is when it's something new, a phenomenon that cannot really be defined in alignment across the different actors, it's a mess and you can't really build it in this fantastic way. So we started out at Lund University asking, what are your problems, what do you need, researchers? Do tell us. And we found a few major issues, making data management plans. So planning for your data management through a project from beginning the work until you are finished, you publish, and then you archive the stuff. And storage also of data. Those were top priorities. And then we asked, what's next? And everyone had different opinions about that. Everyone had the most kind of pressing issues that needed to be handled. But from an organizational perspective, that just wasn't feasible. So the university had to have some kind of prioritization, but how do we prioritize? So then I started to make draw processes, and I tried some information modeling, and very soon came to realize that, okay, this is too immature. I can't build processes, or I can't draw processes because there are no processes. I can't map the IT infrastructure because there is no common infrastructure. So then I found the Milky Way and Annika. And focusing on capabilities. So IT systems, information, processes, organizational entities, people, stakeholders, all those kind of things that can be found within a capability. And then so we started, instead of trying to map what we have and what we should have, we started in, okay, what is needed for the university in order to manage research data in a high quality way? So we kind of shift from the obvious problems to this is what we want. So what's the current state was another question. What's the ideal state and how do we reach that state? Soon you will see some nice pictures. This is the last one of the text slides. So we started this project, Emma-Lisa and I, just before the pandemic. So it's been all digital from then. And we first drew the map in the project team. We were 3 people at most. And then we needed, of course, to do some sanity checks. Are we kind of on the right way? So we asked experts in different parts of research data management, both the support but also the research parts of the university, and updated the map according to their feedback and our collaborative work. And we also defined each of the capabilities, of course, and checked that with others. Some of the methods that we've used, then we created different types of maps that you will see, and Emma-Lisa will show and describe, and the definitions, and looked at also alignment when it comes to the current and ideal state of the capability map at the university. We've also had specific workshops on nomenclature. We talk about, sometimes we talk about the same thing, but we use different words for it. So we are more in alignment, or sometimes we are more different than we think. We've done some surveys, interviews, and we also gathered a compliance list to look at which different types of requirements does the university have, both internal and external, when it comes to managing data. Policies, but also requirements from research funders. They might say, you need to open up all your data. If you get funding from us, you need to publish it so anyone can find and use it. And we also worked with user stories to kind of connect. So from the organizational perspective and really supporting the management in budgeting and prioritization towards meeting more of the architectural and design groups involved who need to be involved in this work. So that's one of our reports as well. So, Emma-Lisa.
This is a map of the current state in a national level. It's thematized also, so there are different themes. There are data, there is compliance, there is computation, there is a little bit about everything. And we asked the different kinds of researchers from all kinds of fields. And this is what they told us that they're actually doing. They have their data in their beginning, and then they search for funding, and then they do computations, and they need to store their data, and they turn to different kinds of stakeholders, and they have their data somewhere, and then they collaborate with different kinds of other researchers maybe, and then they need to store the data again, and then they are finished with the project. And they might publish it in open access or not.
So, and this is in, so I took a course, Lars is somewhere here, and Annika, yeah, were given this course, and it was so much about enterprises that are kind of in maybe the more private sphere, where you tend to have profit as one of the important goals for a company, for example. But so here we don't do the customer journey, but we do the research journey. So the focus is on managing data, and then the journey is the researcher's journey, and then we kind of build the support organization, support structures around that. Should I switch?
And then we ask the researchers, when are you most satisfied during your journey? And then we went through the process with them from the beginning to the end. And then we found out that they're quite actually happy in the beginning. They feel that it's going to be great. Then they start to have bits of problems. There can be collaboration problems, maybe some compliance problems, problems with where they're going to put their data. There is no infrastructure for it. And then they are less satisfied as they go through the process. And yeah, so in the beginning, mostly satisfied. As they go through the process, less satisfied. So greens are most satisfied and reds are not satisfied.
So I will switch to the next and explain that in our, what we present here is 2 different studies. So we have analysis from 2 different studies here and developed our methods going through them. So in this one, this was a national project. So asking basically the same questions, but on a national level. So how should the digital infrastructure for research be designed? How do we find the interoperability between different types of infrastructures? And we, during each interview, we used the map. So as we went digitally, we could share screen with the researcher being interviewed and ask them to describe what they were doing across a project and taking notes as we went along. And in the end of the interview, we had their Milky Way. And finally, the 5 last minutes of the interview, we asked them, okay, please put a red, yellow, or green dot for each of the phases in the research process. And please also shortly just motivate why you choose this grade. So that's what we're also seeing in this one, their different motivations. So kind of just aggregated data in that way.
Infrastructure was the part that they were least satisfied with. And collaborating with other researchers and doing the research was, of course, the part that they were most satisfied with.
Exactly. So when they have a choice of how to work and with whom and are very close to their data, that's when they're the most satisfied. So there's a lot of work to do on the other half of the Milky Way here. This is a fun one.
This is a very fun one. So on a local level at the Lund University, we asked the researchers, what are you doing during your research journey? When do you get help? And then we asked the providers of the services, when do you provide help? And what do you do when you provide help? And then we saw the mismatches. So the researcher had their narrative, of course, and the providers had their narrative. And when it was a mismatch, then there is a orange dot, and then also icons following it.
So the inner arc, that's the researcher journey, right?
It is.
Yeah, and then we have the support organizations in the outer arc.
Yeah, and then on the outer one, then there is the mismatch when the service providers aren't providing the service according to the researchers.
And in every story that is good, you have some kind of love arc right? So here comes the love arc. Or rather, someone named this for us the unrequited love slide. Take it away.
This is a sad one. Okay, let me take you through it. So the blue lines, they are one-way communication.
So may I just say that this was based on data from a survey sent to the research support functions at Lund University, asking when and in which phases do you and how do you support researchers in their data management.
And how do you collaborate, and what do you talk about when you collaborate? Yes, one-way communication is the blue lines, and the green ones are two-way communication. So then we could see what kind of departments are working together and when they're not working together, or when it's just a one-line communication. And then we also asked them, what are you collaborating on? What are you doing? So these are...
Yes, look here. This is an interesting one. Because this is... No, this one. That's the data information security and data protection ombudsman. And everyone thinks we do collaborate, because that's cool. However, they did not respond that they collaborate with anyone. They did not. Yeah, really, really unrequited. Very sad. Indeed.
And then we, of course, have the library. They are the social butterflies at the university. They want to talk to everyone. It might not be reciprocated.
Not all the time. Yeah, so this is really powerful stuff that you can do. And this is an example of where it is kind of funny, but also super provocative. Yeah. And of course, really disruptive. So you need to also consider that. So when we wrote our report, we of course explained what this means and what needs to be alleviated in order to create something that's green all over. Wouldn't that be nice?
Yes.
And then we have a roadmap.
3-year roadmap from 2021 until 23. There are, as you can see, red markers and there are yellow markers. The red ones are fires that we need to put out. And then we have also circled some of the capabilities. What are the ones that we need to focus on? And then we divided into 2 sections, development and organizations. And then we divided that even further. We needed a strategic role, we needed guidelines for research data, and we needed information and communication, of course, as you saw before. And we needed to secure strategical and valuable data, of course. We need a metadata catalog for research data. We need to do an inventory for how to storage data, and we need to implement it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So coming back to this is our final slide, so the kind of sad bit here. So one of the top results throughout our studies and our analysis is that there's so much alignment that needs to be done in order to really develop this area, both at the local universities and also nationally. And then there's a little box here, though alignment requires agents who align. So there might, it's too fragmented an ecosystem to have strong agents who have power to negotiate and to develop. So, and there might be some attempts sometime to try to, we're going to take this, we take responsibility for this. And then others, of course, in the ecosystem says, no, hang on, this is ours. And there's no one to say, okay, we decide. You do that, you collaborate here. There's no one doing that work. So something that's not in here, but is kind of for movie number 2, we have this little hope, because in doing our work with sanity checks, we started asking other universities, do you find this map useful? Does it match your university, etc., etc.? And more universities said, ooh, we want to collaborate here. Let's do something. We need this as well. And from that, national collaboration was born. And we had a time frame of a year and a half. We had meetings every few months, and there were around 100 persons joining our Zooms to talk about this and to understand. And something that was super neat was that there were so many professions there. So we had IT, supercomputing, librarians, architects, these type of strategic roles, data protection officers. And it was the first time they told us, when we kind of evaluated this, that they felt free to discuss without, because otherwise one forum or one stakeholder invites to a meeting. And then when asking questions, how can we develop this? What's the problems? There's always or tend to be someone defending. So here, there was no one there to defend anything. We just wanted to do stuff better together. So that's part 2 in the story, I would say.
A very positive part.
Yes.
That we didn't expect from the beginning.
Right.
So a sequel to look forward to.
Yes.
To say the least. Warm welcome. Thank you. And I'm eager to hear from the audience.
I have a question. I am with the Department of the Environment and